Hey, welcome to Normal American Show. My host robnoerr. Your dog, Dorothy, for the show. What do you think? You see yourself on the TV, computer? Come on, you come up if you want. Come on. Good girl. Oh boy. Oh boy. Come on. Mom and Hank out of town, so Dorothy gets to come up and watch. You get to go do the show with me. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. What do you have to say? Nothing? She's a good girl. She's doing good since the surgery. She's back to normal. So, huh. I'm just gonna pet the dog for 2 hours and then end the stream. How's that? She's got cataract in her one eye. It just came out. We took her to the vet and they just said sometimes it happens, but she still seems to be seeing fine. Uh, anyway, she's got a blanket behind me. She's laying on. I'm sure she'll pop in from time to time here on the stream tonight. Now, I'm assuming we'll probably start off the show having few people watching, seeing as how my good friend Andrew Wilson's back doing a stream post Joe Rogan show, which good for him. So we'll take
where he crushed it, by the way.
He did very good. So we'll I might go into verbal combat tonight. We'll see what's up. And yeah, my dog's allowed to leave her area. I don't shock the shit out of her because she gets up. Dorothy.
Yeah, can you confirm that? Can you just make sure there's no shock collar on
here.
the dog?
Come on up. Come here. They want to see your collar. Come on. Yeah, no shock collar. Can we take your collar off for a minute? We'll show them what we got. Just regular collar. My son likes green. That's his favorite color. So we got our green collar, huh? She sort of runs things here. We have no discipline for her, huh? But she's very good. Very loyal dog, huh? The only thing she does that bugs me is we share a driveway. So every time that my neighbor or one of his kids drives down the driveway, she just freaks out and starts barking because she acts like someone's coming into our house, but it's usually not. It's just someone going to the neighbors. So green's neutral. Green's not boy only. I'm not staying the entire time. I'm not staying up till 5 a.m. I don't even know if I'll go on verbal combat. I thought about not streaming, if I'm honest. I thought about it. My son's not here, but there's stuff going on. So I figure we cover it, and then maybe we'll go on to verbal combat. I don't know. Huh. Looks like riots going on in LA again. Anyways, man, what a day I had. I hope you all had a great day. What happened worthwhile today? My wife has a friend who's pregnant, and she's very excited. It'll be her first daughter, I believe. And so my wife, we went around, and a friend of hers had baby stuff like bassinets, a baby swing, all that good stuff. So we went and picked that up, and then my wife's going to meet her. That's where she's at, going and hanging out with her. And so very excited. It's very cool. I'm 41, and almost none of my friends have kids, which is a bummer. So I am excited to see my friends start to, at least one of them have kids. I think that's fantastic. And he's only been married for a year. So they did things right, got married. Now they're having kids. So I'm very excited for them. So that's where my wife's at. And then my son, he wanted to have a slumber party at his Nana's today. So that's where he's at. So it's just me and Dorothy at the house. But yeah, I'm very excited to have friends that are starting to have kids. I hope more do. You guys should get married and have kids. Good stuff. Um, we got the Don Lemon story to cover tonight. He got arrested. He's out on not bail. Looks like there's riots going on today in Los Angeles, so we'll talk about some of that. And then a ICE attack memos guide or whatever, basically an insurrection guide that was released that Cam Higbee and his crew found. So it should be a good show. We're hoping, at least. I kind of lost my voice yesterday. Not yelling in a debate, but doing Bruce Springsteen cover songs. So I probably won't be doing that today. Let's do it. No more karaoke. Let's do Don Lemon, right? Let's not do Don Lemon. Bad choice of words. I went with lemon squeezed. That's what I went with. I was trying to think of a pun. I thought that was pretty good. People say that, right? People say you're squeezed when you get arrested. Am I wrong? All right. I am hip. I am. I'm very hip. So if you missed it, Don Lemon did get arrested today. It was a grand jury, a federal grand jury. It was arrested, went in front of the judge. Judge left him go without bail. Government requested $100,000 bail. Now listen, I'm not going to bury the lead. This is great news. For all the complaints about Pam Bondi does nothing, this is something. Is it the biggest deal in the world? Eh. But it's something. However, it's not what I would have wanted. I think they should have tipped off Breitbart News, raided his house at 4 a.m., drug him out in his underwear, multiple agents wielding long guns, threw his ass in solitary confinement, said he was a flight risk and left him there until the trial. That would have been what should have happened. That's what should have happened, of course. He should have gotten the treatment that those that he dislikes got, and he supported what happened to them. That would have been just. But we'll take what we could get. Now, if he doesn't get prison time, I don't know. I believe the jury will, the trial will be held in Minneapolis. Also, it'll take one juror to hold it up. I would be shocked if he gets prison time. His alleged crime is not smaller. What was the alleged crime of like Owen Schroyer? What was the alleged crime of Steve Baker? What was the alleged crime of James O'Keefe? What was the alleged crime of Caitlin Bennett? HN says it's not clear he broke the law yet. I think it's pretty clear. To me, it's clear. To you, it may not be. I don't think it was clear that Roger Stone broke the law when he was arrested. That's why they wait for a trial. Owen Schroyer did not enter the Capitol on January 6th. He was telling people not to go into the Capitol, is what he was doing. Steve Baker had a tripod set up and was actually interviewing law enforcement. He got arrested, a journalist, for January 6th, a credentialed journalist. So I imagine that we will talk to. Okay, average stranger. Thanks, man. I imagine me and my co-host on Law and Order, Ryan Mullally, will probably talk about this Monday. We talked about it last Monday, and I'm going to go through the reasons that I think that it is clear that Don Lemon broke the law. Now, there's two laws here. There's kind of violating someone's civil rights, which stems from like something. It's not exactly the act, but the KKK Act. We're going to ignore that for now. That is something that he's charged with. And we're just going to talk about sort of the FACE Act violations and whether or not Don Lemon violated those. Now, other than HN, who's in there, we all agree that it's clear cut that take Don Lemon out of the equation, that the many of those people that went in clearly violated the FACE Act. We agree with that, correct? Sorry to hear that, Justin. But we all agree, right? The differences with Don Lemon is going to be, does he have some sort of immunity because he's a journalist? And so he wasn't participating, he was covering it as a member of the media. Yeah, HN, your opinion is irrelevant to us. We don't give a shit what you think. You're a hack. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Not convinced, he says. We got it. We don't give a shit what your opinion is. It's clear cut. So then, how do we decide if, and it is a serious question, if a journalist is covering something versus if they're participating in something? Now, I won't bury the lead. The pearl clutching by the left is asinine, seeing as how a great many of them absolutely cheered when conservative journalists were arrested, raided, etc. Didn't have a problem. Easiest example is Steve Baker and Owen Schroyer, both from January 6th. Both arrested for nothing, not engaging in violence, anything of that sort. Owen Schroyer didn't even enter the Capitol. Steve Baker went into the Capitol as a credentialed member of the press, was not palling around with the January 6 people, was actually interviewing law enforcement inside the Capitol. No evidence he did anything or antagonized anyone, or that he conspired. He was arrested. And never once did any of the people clutching their pearls right now about the First Amendment, they didn't say anything. Did not care. They didn't say, wait a minute, that's dangerous, arresting members of the press. That's dangerous. You see? Don Lemon's a real member of the press. Can you show me in the Constitution where it talks about credentialed press? Steve Baker was credentialed. He worked for The Blaze with Glenn Beck. Blaze doesn't count though. It's not reputable. Like, where's Don Lemon work again? Oh yeah, it's a podcast. That's where he works. His own podcast. Formerly at CNN, fired. So, to start with, none of the people that are talking about how this is an attack on press or anything like that, none of them gave a shit at all. Did not care. And you could say, well, maybe the details of that later, of Steve Baker, maybe the details of Owen Schroyer. Maybe a lefty could say, well, I just think those details. Here's the issue, though. They were clearly members of the press that were arrested and targeted. Don't you think the members of the press would have stood up and said, hey, wait a minute. We have a problem with this. There better be clear-cut, ironclad details here. But no, none of them said a word. None said a word. The Democrats used lawfare to go after the former president of the United States and chief political rival, his attorneys, members of the press, people that put memes up. Remember that? What was the name of the guy that put the meme up that they arrested? It escapes me right now. They did that. They arrested people that protested outside abortion clinics. Douglas Mackey, that's it, yeah. And they honestly thought, it'll never happen to us. It won't happen. Nope, that won't happen. And then when 1/100th happens to them, they scream, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Another stream of Rob saying Democrats are hypocrites. Yeah, we know. Okay. Well, then why don't we talk about Donald Mack instead? What do you want to talk about, Donald Mack? Go ahead. Let's let Donald Mack run the show. He's got the fresh shit. You guys all tune into his stream, right? That's right. He's got the deets. Go ahead, Donald Mack. What do you got for us? Perhaps you'd like to call in and drop some impressive logic on us and what you'd like to hear from his show. Right? Go ahead. What is the purpose of the chat? You tell me. So instead of talking about relevant news stories, the big issue you want to cover is asking me what the purpose of chat is? That doesn't sound that exciting. You clearly have more substantive things to talk about, so what is it? You guys don't know Donald Mack? Tell us about your channel, Donald Mack. I'm assuming you have huge amount of followers. I'll continue and talk about what I like on my show. What was the opinion you offered? I didn't see one. I didn't see an opinion. All I saw was you asking a question or commenting that you implied you didn't want to hear me talk about Democrat hypocrisy. So clearly you have something better to talk about then. So what is it that you wanted to talk about? Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks so much for your opinion. I'll choose to talk about what I want. Now, going back to this, we can see that the people that are criticizing about Don Lemon didn't care when Republican or conservative media members were arrested. They were cool going after politicians. When their politicians get arrested, they shout it's the end of the world. They were cool going after members of the media. When members of their media get arrested, they shout that it's the end of the world. They were cool going after people for the FACE Act. When their people got arrested for the FACE Act, they shout that it's the end of the world. They were cool cracking down on what they consider violent rioters. When it's suggested that we crack down on left-wing violent rioters, they say it's the end of the world. But aside from that, let's look at the details that would suggest that Don Lemon was more than just a neutral arbiter who was covering the news, a neutral observer. So the first thing to discuss is sort of the idea of how this would play out in a potential crime. So, do we say that if a crime is about to be carried out and is carried out, that a journalist who is tagging along to cover has also broken the law? It's an interesting question. So, for example, let's take something that's less politically charged. Let's say a bank robbery. If a group of 4 or 5 people got together and conspired to rob a bank, and they called a member of the press and said, we'd like for you to embed with us and come in and film and interview people as we're robbing the bank. Did the journalist break the law? At what point do you become a participant in the crime that's occurring? And I talked about this to Ryan Mullally, and who's an attorney, and he was like, there's no special exemption for members of the press. There are things that we accept that the press does that we say is worth it, but that still doesn't mean it's not a crime. Now, you might say, well, the bank robbery scenario is worse. This isn't that bad. But actually, I think it's the opposite. I think this is worse than the bank robbery thing. So let me start by asking you this. What was the intent of the crowd of people that broke into that church? What was their intent? Insurrection. I mean, intimidation, terrorism, disrupt the proceedings. There was an ICE officer inside. You know what's funny? Can you believe this? That's right. HN got one right. Yes. That's right. Of course, there was a designation to intimidate the members of this church and the pastor, but it was also to bring attention. That's true. They wanted the world to see it, right? They did it because they wanted a spectacle. Anyone disagree? if it was designed to just intimidate the pastor, there's no reason they would have done it in a public display. Given that, the motivation for the crime was made possible by the fact that Don Lemon was there. In other words, if you're just there filming a bank robbery, the bank robbers probably don't give a shit that it becomes a public spectacle. I guess there's a case where they would want it, but they want money and get the fuck out and not get caught. Here, they wanted the world to see what happened. That's why they coordinated with Don Lemon. Which makes it even more problematic that Don Lemon was participating. But let's put the shoe on the other foot for a minute and say, now, what would it look like where we would say, you know what, it was a totally neutral journalist? Can we agree with this? Let's start with this premise. Is there a possibility that a violent law-breaking action could take place and a member of the press is filming it as it's going on location? Surely we all agree that's a possibility. That's something, a hypothetical that could be true, correct? In other words, let's say I work for Fox News or MSNBC or something, and I'm a on-the-beat reporter, and I go into the bank, and all of a sudden there's a bank robbery, and I pick up my phone and I start just like I would if I was on the job. There's nothing wrong there. I did nothing wrong, right? Even if I'm asking the gunman, like, what are you doing this for? What, right? We all agree with that, right? So then, what would be necessary for us to say, this goes above and beyond that? Well, things that would be to that degree would be, was Don Lemon involved in the planning of this? And the answer is yes. Don Lemon was involved in the planning. We currently don't have evidence if he helped come up with the plan, but we do know, based on his own video, that he knew that this was about to occur. So he had foreknowledge of this event. He also seemed to be quite favorable to the lawbreakers, including kissing the woman that was responsible for this, having them claim that, quote, he's on our side. So in effect, what Don Lemon knew was what was about to be a crime designed to intimidate and terrorize people at the place of worship was about to go down. He supported the people that were doing it. He was kissing them on the cheek and palling around with them. And then he went in and harassed the parishioners, including the pastor, who repeatedly asked him to leave. If that doesn't make him involved in the law breaking, I don't know what would. In fact, part of the, what's the word I want to use? Not subpoena, what the fuck? Not affidavit. Part of his arrest document claims that he was blocking the egress of people. So we're going to look at some evidence here. Have you ever seen a journalist who's covering a crime that's ongoing behave like this? Does that speak to just a neutral observer? Indictment, that was the word, yeah. Does that speak to a neutral observer? That doesn't seem like someone who's just a member of the press that's an observer. That seems like someone who is actually cheering for the people that are breaking the law. What does disclosing source have anything to do with anything? First off, yes, the government can compel journalists to disclose a source, and they could be held in contempt for refusing to do so. Second, what does this have to do with shit all? That's not true. You don't have to create a nexus between the planning and his involvement in order for it to stick. That would certainly be more evidence, but that won't be necessary. His defense, it's clear that they broke the FACE Act, and probably they violated people's civil rights in that law as well. The question is he involved with it, or was he just a neutral member of the press? If I'm watching a bank robbery and I claim, hey, I was just a member of the press, and I'm like, yeah, fucking get them, yeah, fuck those white supremacists, fuck these capitalist pigs, rob them motherfuckers blind. Can I later say, hey, I was just a member of the press? I was just a member of the press, that's all. You were blocking people from escaping while you were criticizing them. I'm just a member of the press. I don't believe you. No, they don't. According to the Fifth Amendment, they don't have to say anything if he doesn't have to say anything if he's implicated in a crime. But your argument that members of the press don't have to disclose a source is not true. Legally, you could be held in contempt of court for refusing to disclose a source if law enforcement goes through the proper channels. Of course he's entitled to a defense, and we're showing evidence that his defense is incorrect. So it's clear that he wasn't just a neutral. I don't know what to tell you. The Fifth Amendment does say you have the right to not self-incriminate. What does that have to do with disclosing sources? Not every source that a journalist would have would be one that self-incriminates them. I could bring up person after person after person who's been jailed for contempt of court. Do you say they don't exist? Is that your argument? In 2005, during the investigation into the leak of CIA operative Valerie Plame, Judith Miller was subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury about her confidential sources. She refused to reveal them, citing journalistic ethics and claimed reporter's privilege under the First Amendment. A federal judge held her in contempt of court. She was sentenced to 18 months in jail, but the sentence was stayed during appeals. On July 6th through 7th, 2005, she began serving her time at Alexandria City Jail in Virginia. She spent 85 days in jail before being released on September 29, 2005, after her source, Scooter Libby, personally and voluntarily waived confidentiality, allowing her to testify limitedly without naming other sources. You were saying? Will you admit you were wrong? Buck around, find out. Will you admit I was mistaken? Turns out, what does it matter if it was a civil case or a criminal case? It was criminal. She went to jail. The crime was leaks. That's why she was subpoenaed. So it wasn't civil, it was criminal. So, Wally, we'll get to Super Chats in a minute. So you were mistaken. You're mistaken. You were absolutely mistaken. The Valerie Plame situation had not to do with civil. What, you think that the crime, it was a crime of leaking classified documents. The government wasn't going to sue for civil redress. It was a crime. They subpoenaed Judith Miller to find who her source was. She refused to give up the source. She went to jail for 86 days for contempt. It's happened many times. And it's irrelevant to the issue we're talking about here anyways. But you're just erroneous in your belief there. Here's Don Lemon after the fact, talking about him being in with this crowd in the church.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kyle.
I'm a gay black man, that's what he said. So you can see. The white supremacist. Does that sound like someone who was just a journalist that's just reporting on it? Or does that sound like someone who had an axe to grind? Here's one of the worst kept secrets is these violent lefties. They hate when people are filming them. So here was a reaction to Don Lemon as he is filming them before they went in.
What's that going to mean?
This is a white supremacist agenda.
Why do you say that?
Fuck off.
No, dude, I'm
You're
not
on
here.
Whose team are you on?
Come on, man.
Don Lemon.
This is Don Lemon.
All right, man.
All right, well, no.
Sorry, brother. I'm so sorry.
Like, really?
No, I'm so sorry.
He's on our team.
Yeah, so why do you say that?
He's on our team. Huh. Nah, he was just a neutral arbiter. Here's before the event. Here's Don Lemon. Listen what he says here.
It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go, everybody.
There he admits to helping them by turning the camera off while they give critical information. Would a journalist do that? If a journalist is on the ground watching a crime, he's cheering for one side and says, "Oh, they're saying some things now. Let's turn the camera off so that you can't hear that." Does that sound like someone that wasn't involved? That doesn't sound like a journalist. That sounds like a propagandist for that team. Here he is referring to the operation and we doing it, including himself.
Them to account, and so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And them to account, and so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live.
Why do you think he turned the camera off? He said, "We're turning the camera off because they're revealing critical information." He turned the camera. Yes, HN, absolutely. He wanted to conceal what was a crime. He didn't want the people that were about to have their civil rights violated to know, to protect themselves. Here's before the event, Don Lemon.
Let me do this. I can't see anything on
That's
that
okay.
side.
I got it. Just park. Just hit park.
Twitch, we're back. Sunday morning church.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
After we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going. Okay.
Can't tell you where they're going. He knows the planning. This would be the effect of, he knows they're about to break the law. This would be like if they're planning a bank robbery. I know what bank they're going to. I'm going to turn the camera off now because they're revealing critical information about the bank. But I'm just a journalist.
So I am going inside now. Where's my phone? I need my phone. Hey, Meta, record. So activists are now in the church. This is what the First Amendment is about the freedom to protest. I'm sure people here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable.
Here he's talking about this is not a First Amendment issue, but it's clear that he's taking the side of the criminals that are breaking the law right now, saying they have the right to break the law.
And there are people here I'm looking at a young man who's in the corner. He's frightened. He's scared. He's crying. People are leaving church. One of the members who looks to be really upset, a young person, the pastor is trying to calm him down over there. Perhaps they should come in, pray together, and talk together. But anyways, if I were the pastor, I would offer a prayer. I would try to calm things down and say, listen, talk to you. We're all citizens. We're all believers and Christians. It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
I don't necessarily agree with everything that's going on in the Twin Cities right now, but I don't think it's good to fight fire with fire. I think it's good to speak up. I think it's good to protest, but I think it's better to do it in a peaceful way. I don't think the answer is going into God's church.
You don't think this is peaceful?
Well, it's trespass.
Nobody fighting.
It's trespass.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest. I'm surprised that law enforcement has not showed up yet. I'm going to take you outside of the church. What do you think of this?
There's a harmless Christian here that wants to praise the Lord with my son, and now I got to go home.
Yeah, that was interesting to watch. This guy here, look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful, it's very slippery right here.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so
that's what breaking the law is about. That's what it's about. Now, I just want to know what the rules are now. If this is allowed, I have a podcast. Don Lemon was streaming to Twitch. I'm streaming to Twitch right now. So if I am friends with a bunch of people that want to break into a mosque and terrorize people there while it's in service, and I bring my phone and a microphone, right? Put my little lapel on, then it's okay. I go, right? And say, oh, well, this is what it's about. I'm sure it's traumatic for these Muslims. That's it? That's all I need to do? What other crimes am I allowed to commit now that I'm a journalist? I cover the news on my podcast, like Don Lemon. So what other crimes am I allowed to commit? I'm just curious. Is there any place I'm not allowed to trespass? As long as I claim it's an act of journalism? Can I break into Don Lemon's house? I go, hey, I'm a journalist. I'm just a journalist. This is nonsensical. Yes, the others got charged. I can park in handicap spots and I'll claim I'm a journalist. Yeah. The Democrats were more than excited to aggressively prosecute people for the FACE Act. I have no idea that I have no idea what this Berg is talking about. He's constantly been this big brain fucking genius thinks that it is impossible for a court to compel a journalist to give up a source. What happened? I thought journalism wasn't important in any way to this case. Right, because he's not acting as a journalist. He's acting further than that. So let me redo this for our slow-witted friend here. I said, can we envision a case where someone could cover a violent incident as a member of a press? Sure. For example, I said, what if you're in a bank and it gets robbed and you pull out your camera and you start filming? That's not you engaging in it. We all said, yes, we agree. Now, this person heard that as well, right? Then he started to make excuses. He's making the argument for Don Lemon. He says, oh, it's about sources or something like that, and you don't have to turn over sources. I'm like, that's not true. And the sources argument has nothing to do with this. It's clear that Don Lemon's operating outside the scope of just being a journalist. For example, he knows that the law is about to be broken. He's involved in the pre-planning of it. He has people saying that he's on their team. He's kissing the people that went and did these things. This guy's argument the whole time is, isn't he entitled to a defense? Yes, I know his defense is going to be, I'm a journalist, that's okay. We're going through the evidence to suggest that's not the case. Then me saying, if his argument is you could do these things because you're being a journalist, can I do that as well? And you saying, I thought being a journalist had nothing to do with it. Shows that you're a fucking idiot and capable of following a logical train of thought. And it is, I'm an idiot because I always get fucking sidetracked by bad faith or fucking morons. I don't know which one this guy is. I'm not sure. I mean, I would lean towards he's a fucking idiot, that he's never heard of a journalist being held in contempt for failing to get over a source. You may have started talking to someone in the chat, but you're clearly addressing commentary to me. That's why you said, what happened, Rob? I thought journalism wasn't important in any way to this case. Show me ever saying journalism isn't important in any way to this case. Show me what you meant. Don't deflect. I get it. What you've constantly done is been proven wrong and said, oh, no, I'm just talking to someone in the chat. Then why are you addressing me? Show me once where I ever said journalism wasn't important to this case. What I said was he's acting outside the scope of being a journalist. His argument will be, I'm a journalist. I'm showing you evidence that it's clearly outside the scope of that. Yeah, you're right. I can't help myself. There. Now we don't have to worry about me being an asshole. So here is from the judge's commentary. Filed the warrant. Mogelson did not tell those inside the Capitol to look out your windows, bitches. Look what's coming as he approached. Nor did Mogelson express regret that he did not steal the computers of Representative Pelosi's officers. And Mogelson did not subsequently express approvals of the event at the Capitol as Baker did. These alleged statements paint Baker as an active participant in the events of January 6th, not a passive observer. So the argument is, Baker seemed to be sympathetic to the people on January 6th. This made him an active participant. That's the standard. Shipwreck Crew says the significant level of detail in the indictment about the pre-op meeting in the parking lot and what was said by who and how it was there means the DOJ has cooperators from the protest group. The reacted names are likely people not yet under arrest.
So mentally, how are you? I have my moments. I'm okay. I've had over 2 years to prepare for this. I've game planned it all out in my head. I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm not even going to try. It is my way anyway. And so I'm just going to, prepare, pray, and then I'm going to put on my suit and tie. Good for you. And walk in with my head up.
That's Steve Baker, member of the Blaze. He's talking to Glenn Beck there before he goes into prison. He ended up getting pardoned. No one in the press, no one in the mainstream media clutched their pearls and said, oh my God, they're arresting members of the press. No one. Remember this? InfoWars host Owen Schroyer sentenced to 60 days in January 6th case. The conspiracy theorist was with Alex Jones on the grounds of the Capitol on January 6th, but never entered the building. Where was the media? Where were they when the FBI raided James O'Keefe's house? Looking for Ashley Biden's diary. Where were they? Odd. Eight defendants per Associated Press reporting from 2021 identified themselves as journalists or filmmakers. They were affiliated with sources like InfoWars, right-wing sites, or activist media outlets. InfoWars, etc. 8 members of the press arrested with January 6th. Shipwreck again says, there are journalists writing for liberal publication who have expressed liberal progressives' points of view that they hold, who I spoke with after Steve Baker was charged, and who told me that Stephen being charged made them uncomfortable because there was no question in their mind that Steve was acting as a freelance journalist, and the Biden DOJ knocking down that barrier created a very real possibility that the tables might be turned on them in the years ahead. They know who they are. That's the precedent. Remember, this isn't happening in a vacuum either. They should include statements that Don Lemon's made in the past. All of this was surrounding ICE. Here's comments he made about ICE about a month or so before he stormed into this church.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for? Black people, brown people of all stripes.
So if you think that there's not a sufficient warrant and you're a black or a brown person, you should shoot the people serving it? That's Don Lemon, folks. Here's one of the co-conspirators that was arrested. Here's video of her.
Yes. Okay. Okay, well, this is really scary. There's kids in the house. You guys have not been really friendly in the community. And to me, this seems a little, can I finish, sir? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Get your phone.
This seems a little bit aggressive to have all these cars in our cul-de-sac, 2, 3 agents, and now I saw the one disappear to the back. So to me, this is a little aggressive to just serve a warrant. Slide the warrant. Let me see the warrant. Okay. And that, to me, what I have been told, is not a judicial warrant that has me to have to open the door for you.
I disagree with this woman. I don't think it was aggressive enough. I think they should have tipped off Fox News, drug her out in her fucking underwear, at 5 a.m. That's what I think. That's what they should have did. That's how it should have went down. But it's different now. Now it's different. "11 pro-life activists have been indicted by Biden's DOJ for protesting outside an abortion clinic in Tennessee." They got him. Here was them arresting one of them.
But if you're not going to let me, then I'll just...
No, I want to know why you were banging on my door with a gun. You're not going to tell me anything?
No, do not. I tried.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You did not try. This is not acceptable.
Let's see if we can find. One video I was looking for. Where were the Democrats? This was Mark Houck. Charges were later dropped. Pro-life protester.
And there's a bang on my door, and the doorbell's rung like 30 times or something. It just keeps ringing. Well, I said, well, who is it? And they said, it's the FBI.
On September 23rd, 2022, Mark Houck's children awoke to FBI agents banging on their front door.
I was scared and I looked out the window. There was a lot of police there. And I saw guns pointing at me and Daddy.
They were all the way lying down my driveway, and I had agents on my porch with long guns.
I was shaking. I didn't even really know why he even was arrested.
Those authorities were there to arrest their father at the direction of President Joe Biden's DOJ.
We were definitely targeted to silence us, to scare us, to intimidate us.
United States versus Houck was not something we would wish for, but we recognized that we were called to, that God had created.
Yeah, apologize. I'll help you out. Yeah, you guys. Sorry about that, guys. We'll help you. Happy to do my part to help you guys. So now, what these people want to do when they come in and they're talking like this, they want the aggressive law enforced upon you, right? And then they want to break the law in even more severe ways and then claim that you're some sort of piece of shit for discussing it. Oh, that's ridiculous. This is boring. Why are we doing this? Fuck you. I don't find it boring that left-wing insurrectionists around this country are attacking us and our way of life and now breaking into our churches, threatening people. I don't find that boring. I find it to be a topic that I'm interested in talking about. By no means are anyone obligated to be here and talk about it. Totally get it. So we'll help you on your way. Good luck to you. So I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for this woman who's being arrested for breaking into the white supremacist church. Now, Jake Tapper had a big post out there that was like, oh my goodness, this is attack on the First Amendment. And my goodness, they couldn't get a judge to sign off on something. So then they had to go, oh my gosh, even the appellate judge was like, no. So they had to go to a grand jury. Here's what the appellate judge actually said. If the government does not like the magistrate judge's decision, it could present its case to a grand jury and seek an indictment, which is exactly what the DOJ did and what a grand jury found probable cause of to charge Lemon with multiple crimes. In addition, that judge did admit that there was probable cause for the warrant. Here's people, by the way, with these same laws. Here's people that Democrats arrested and no one had a problem with. They were all arrested. All of them were arrested. Democrats didn't have a problem. Media didn't have a problem. Here's Owen Schroyer. The indictment. Schroyer's a Texas-based talk show host associated with the website InfoWars. He traveled to D.C. on January 2021 and advanced to January 6th and spoke of stopping certification of the Electoral College and vote. In a video posted to the InfoWars website, Schroyer gave the address in Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C., which he stated, Americans are ready to fight. We're not exactly sure what it's going to look like perhaps in a couple weeks if we can't stop the certification of fraudulent election. We're the new revolution. We're going to restore what's going to save the republic. In another video posted before on January 5th, Schroyer called into InfoWars broadcast and said, what I'm afraid is if we don't get this false certification of Biden stopped this week, I'm afraid it means for the rest of the month, everybody knows the election was stolen. Are we going to sit here and become activists in 4 years? Are we going to do something? In addition, Schroyer was featured in promotional material circulated by InfoWars. One promotional video urged listeners to come to the big DC marches on the 5th or 6th of January. I'll see you there. The video ended with an edited graphic of Schroyer and others in front of the Capitol building. The graphic is depicted below. You see, those were all things that they said, see, he had beliefs and commentary about the certification. So clearly he wasn't just a journalist. Okay, what's Don Lemon been saying about ICE? Oh, it's different now, though. Now it's different. Here was one of the ringleaders of breaking into that church. Let's see what she has to say, what her being arrested signifies.
We had belly chains around our waists, and we had handcuffs with bars in the middle. As someone who majored in African American studies, I can tell you that is the closest I ever felt to slavery in my life. Being shackled as if I was a slave. It is unacceptable and unconscionable, but it's on brand for a white. We have belly chains.
You see? It's slavery all over again. You see? You can't arrest a black person when you put him in handcuffs. That's slavery. They should just be allowed to run in your church and yell and scream at your kids. Sean Davis puts, a lot of people don't know this, but if you film yourself doing crimes, cops can't stop you. Journalist exception. This is why bin Laden always did those videotapes after 9/11. He wasn't confessing. He was reporting the news that bin Laden did it. That's why when they sent SEAL Team 6 to ICE him instead of arresting him, right? Now let's read some super chats, if you don't mind. GG, $2. No one is above the law. Yes, that's the spirit. Absolutely. Jordan Lofgren, $5 says, wait, don't start the stream yet. I'm still trying to hear over my own laughter at Don Lemon being arrested. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, week's over. I got alcohol in my system. I'm ready to get mad at leftoids. Also, as per my usual. What up, Rob? What's up, Perry? Robert Whaley, thank you so much for donating 5 memberships. Really appreciate it. Justin Ware, $5 says, just got in a huge argument with my father about lemon and ice and got called a Nazi. I'm so sorry, man. That's really terrible. Psycher Carrick, $5 says, to be fair, just because Rob says Dems are hypocrites every show doesn't mean they're not giving us new examples every time. True. And then gives another 5. It says, part of civil disobedience is getting arrested. It's a feature of the concept, not a bug. Activists have forgotten that because they've had their way for so long, right? The Crazy, $20. Thank you, says Payday. Thank you. The Great Wicked Wally, 9 months. Thank you, man. Says Rob, there's new lemon soap. It's going to drop soon. Naughty Germ, $5. Thank you, as always, my friend. Blasterbot, $10 says, can we take a minute to laugh at how Don Lemon violated the KKK Act on MLK Day? We live in a clown world. It's funny. Robert Whaley, $10 says, not only did Olin Schroyer not enter the Capitol, but he was also trying to prevent others from entering. Absolutely true. Psycher Carrick, $5 says, have you seen talked about the Ohio AG candidate who said, I'm going to kill Trump? He goes on to say that's in context of the capital crime. But yeah, we talked about it the other day. It's crazy. Stephen Alvarez, $5 says, Hispanic here with Mexican blood. Somali are not my people. Americans and South Americans are my people. Deep lore. Japan are our people too. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much. Now, if we get to, what are we at? If we get to 40% of our dono bar, if people want, I'll go over to the verbal combat panel for an hour or so and debate people. I believe the topics today are themed to dating and marriage. Robert Whaley, thank you so much. 10 gifted memberships. Thank you. So if you'd like to see me do that, get some donos in. Bry, thanks so much. $5 over at Rebel says, what's up, Rob? Really enjoyed the debate last night. Here's $5 to show support. Thank you. I had fun with the debate. I really did. We have more evidence of the left just blatantly calling for insurrections. Here's the governor of New Jersey.
I've already met with AG. We are putting out information on helping New Jerseyans know their rights. We are not going to allow any ICE raids to be staged from state properties. And we are also going to be standing up a portal so people can upload all their cell phone videos and alert people. Like if you see an ICE agent in the street, get your phone out.
Yes.
We want to know. Because they have not been forthcoming. They will pick people up. They will not tell us who they are.
Right.
They will not tell us if they're here legally. They won't check. They'll pick up American citizens. They picked up a 5-year-old child. We want documentation, and we are going to make sure we get it.
Now, remember, people that were nonviolent, that were just on text groups for January 6th, right? They were arrested, charged. Meanwhile, we have commentary like that. There's another one I wanted to show. 1 second. This is from Seattle's mayor. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson makes clear that her city doesn't need a signals chat. Instead, she's going to mobilize the actual police force to do what signal networks do in Minneapolis. She'll even have a Seattle Police Department relay intel gathered on federal agents to community partners and ban usage of city property by agents. Katie is a former professional protester. She's manipulating her office as mayor of one of the most powerful cities in the country to aid and abet domestic terrorists daily and to resist federal government. Today, I announced an initial set of actions to protect the city and residents in the face of federal immigration. Initial steps: direct Seattle police to investigate, verify, and document ICE activity. Mandate Seattle police to verify information is shared with community partners. Prohibit ICE from staging operations on city property. Invest $4 million to support immigrant communities. Direct police to investigate, verify, and document. If dispatched to location where ICE activity is underway, Seattle police will document the activity with video, validate the status of federal agents through official identification, and secure scenes of potentially unlawful acts to gather evidence for transmittal to prosecutors. The information will be shared with community partners. The police will cooperate with city departments and trusted community organizers to ensure everyone has the latest, most accurate information about ICE activities. Now, how isn't this an attempt to prevent ICE from carrying out their duties? Meanwhile, what do we see? Well, here's today. Let's see a little action today, shall we? Wait, I'm sorry. Before we get there, Seattle, very similar to Portland. Look at this story. In 2019, two conservative activists in Portland, Joey Gibson and Russell Schultz, were prosecuted for felony rioting after they were attacked at an Antifa pub, Sire Riot, at a Rose City Antifa event. I was assaulted for recording the street riot by Antifa. No one was arrested. And leftist Antifa liars in the media falsely said I was party to the rioting. Leftists encouraged and celebrated the prosecution. Years later, at trial in Portland, the two were acquitted mid-trial by the judge who found the case too meritless to continue, which is rare. Today, the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit ruled that Gibson and Schultz have standing to sue former Deputy District Attorney Brad Calbaugh and Fulton County for allegedly filing false sworn affidavits to secure warrants that led to the arrest and prosecution. Calbaugh now works for the Assistant Attorney General. Gibson and Schultz are represented by Angus Lee, who also represents Nick Sorter in his wrongful arrest against the Portland police in the city of Portland. What happens in these cities is they allow the lefties to riot with impunity. You saw this with the Nick Sorter video. He gets the shit beat out of him. When he pushes back because they're beating the shit out of him, then they arrest him. Nick Sorter, a citizen journalist that's out there recording this stuff. Where was the media when he got arrested? Where were they? So while you have the governor of New Jersey, the mayor of Seattle talking about how they're going to do all this stuff, record ICE, work with community leaders to make sure that they're not doing their jobs, we have things like this occurring. Cam Higbee, St. Paul insurrectionists literally go car to car in parking lots and photograph each plate, run them, and try to find ICE agents. They are Big Brother. They do the same in Minneapolis. Here they have for their chat groups, running plates. Now, there's incident after incident where they have accosted people and demanded to see their papers, accusing them of being ICE. Sometimes they find ICE agents and harass and attack them off duty. Other times they just find white people that they assume must be ICE agents and they attack him. Some video from today. This is from today outside Federal Building in Minneapolis.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Leave them alone! They're not doing anything!
I could see it here.
They didn't do anything! Tell your buddies, these aren't our guys! They're leave! What are you doing? Leave them alone! What do you think about the journalists?
See, they're journalists. They're observers. They did nothing wrong. Just like the footage we showed you. This is the motif every single time. Claim they're journalists, attack, impede. When they get arrested, scream, oh my God. It's the game. Every single time. Every time. And you have these politicians, none of them are out there saying we're having programs to stop ICE. None of them are talking about the unlawful riots against ICE on a daily basis. None. Here's TMZ weighing in.
So the Trump administration wonders why people are saying that they are trying to form a dictatorship. Well, look at the landscape. Arresting Don Lemon, who covered a protest in Minneapolis, is just insane, ridiculous, dictator-like. This is the playbook that dictators use to destroy democracies and take the will of the people away.
Now, notice all the bullshit here. One, didn't say fuck all when Obama was going after journalists. Didn't say fuck all when Biden's team was going after and arresting journalists. Didn't say anything. Second, even if you think that Don Lemon didn't break the law, it is clear, crystal clear, that the people that broke into that church did. And so the way that he frames it, he was just covering a protest. Why wouldn't he say he was covering people that have been indicted for breaking the law and violating people's civil rights? Why wouldn't he say that? Because it's not about the truth. By the way, I remind you, here was TMZ, their office cheering when they found out that Charlie Kirk was killed.
We're going to see an image of this guy possibly in the next 20 minutes. The news conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific.
Hear them in the background celebrating. That's when they found out that Charlie Kirk was dead.
5 o'clock East. Yeah, Trump.
That's TMZ. And then they were like, oh no, they were cheering because of a police chase. Shipwreck Crew, who defended a bunch of January 6ers, says, who ordered Steve Baker's arrest? We had good info from inside the U.S. Capitol Police that it was the U.S. Capitol Police who demanded to Lisa Monaco that Baker be charged. Why? Because Baker exposed corruption inside the Capitol Police, as confirmed by Capitol Police Chief Sund. But that was fine. That wasn't deemed retribution. No one had a problem going after that journalist. Here was Nick Sorter, journalist, being arrested after he was violently assaulted.
Your initial reaction to hearing that the charges against you were going to be dropped, and why do you think the DA decided to do that?
I think it was a smart move because all of the evidence was in my favor. There was no evidence against me at any time. So everybody there has a camera for the most part at these demonstrations or whatever you want to call them in the streets. And all of those videos that came out showed that I was the victim. I was the one that was jumped. I was the one that was thrown into a hole. I was the one that was punched. I didn't punch anybody. I didn't break anybody's camera. My crime was filming in public, filming people that don't believe in First Amendment rights for conservatives, I guess. And that's where this whole thing started. I should never have been arrested. I should never have been put through the ringer. And I shouldn't have the chief of police on TV slandering me during the day. Instead, he should be focused on pulling the rot out of his police department. And maybe this will make him think twice about, I don't know, the direction that the department is going.
Where was Harvey Levin? Where was Jake Tapper? That's okay. Fuck that guy, right? Here's Los Angeles today.
Against you were going to be dropped, and why do you?
Isn't it nice? Isn't it great that you have all these politicians that are supporting it? Here we have socialists breaking into a Target in Minneapolis, trying to shut it down.
Every target, every test. Every
Private device inside my private property. If you do not leave immediately, you will be arrested. Do you understand me?
Target is afraid of us. Target is afraid of us, and they're using the police to shut us down. Shame. But we will have our voice heard. Will we have our voice heard? Yeah. Are we afraid of Target? No. Are we afraid of ICE? No. We're going to shut it down to kick ICE out.
More footage from Los Angeles today. Notice they're back to waving Mexican flags everywhere. Now, we know that there are coordinated groups that are doing this, coordinating this insurrection. There's credible evidence that part of it's funded by foreign groups. They're waving the flags of foreign nations as they commit this insurrection. Again, not my word. That was the Democrats' word. Here they more. Blocking the streets. And then I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, since I've been streaming, I haven't been looking. Here's more from tonight. Here's Austin, Texas tonight. Sorry.
All the walls have got to go! From Palestine to Mexico! From Palestine to Mexico! All the walls have got to go!
From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Pretty catchy, huh? Pretty catchy. Here's police trying to get in Austin a driver that's stuck. They're trying to get him released. This is again in Austin tonight. Oh, we're having fun tonight. Nothing violent, I don't think yet, but they're in Portland as well tonight. In black bloc gear.
None of our people. Thank you for talking. Thank you for being here. Yeah. The only reason I know that is because of...
Seems real organic. Now, do you see why I was saying that the important thing at this point is to not stand down in Minneapolis? Because if they feel we could take to the streets and riot, and get our way, that it's going to spring up all across the country. All across it. LAPD's declared a citywide tactical alert. Just looking to see if we see any more. So it looks just like more of the same. Now, I'll keep my eye posted if we see any more riots, etc. tonight. But I thought this maybe was the post that's the most illuminating of what's going on. So at the same time that we have all of these politicians that are basically saying, we're going to communicate with the community and we're going to stop ICE from enforcing the law and blah, blah, blah. This is the type of stuff that's being released. So Cam Hegby posts today, insurrectionists admit everything. They want their people to die to create propaganda. This document distributed on Signal in Minnesota, activists lay out their goal is to impede ICE and to create flashpoints. They describe flashpoints as moments of chaos where they could de-arrest, save illegal immigrants, or possibly resulting in the murder of a comrade. They make expressly clear that they want flashpoints to occur. This message is specifically designed to be distributed to their dispatchers. So this is dispatch, please advise tactics for fighting the federal occupation of Minnesota by ICE, a collective statement from Red Wing to Blackbird. So on those Signal chats, this is one of the sort of pamphlets that they're giving out, telling the people what they're supposed to do against ICE. So let's see what it says. What does it mean to watch ICE? A wide range of people around Minnesota have engaged in the practice of following and monitoring ICE activity. This could be done on foot or in a car. Sometimes this also means showing up immediately to the scene where an abduction is taking place, which is called rapid response. Why follow ICE? Our goals are to, 1, throw ICE off their course, waste their time, and force them to drive away. That is admitting to an insurrection right there. Obstructing federal law enforcement for carrying out their laws using violence and intimidation. So this is a manual on the ongoing insurrections that we see daily. Organized, being spread. 2nd, alert at-risk people to ICE's presence. 3rd, make the whole neighborhood aware of ICE's presence and get them outside to resist. And 4th, escalate at ICE abductions and create potential flashpoints. They are literally recommending, when ICE is working, escalate the violence, escalate the tensions to create a flashpoint. Don't go out alone. It creates relative safety in numbers and allows you to split the rules. Make sure someone knows what you're doing. Make a jail support plan. Check in with yourself and your buddy to make sure you're prepared for the risk you're willing to take. Make sure you have everything you need, including first aid, personal protective equipment, in the event of ICE's weapons being used against you. Start in a small area you know well. You could then respond to ICE quickly when you enter your patrol radius. Join or start a call in your neighborhood Signal chat, or stay up to date with local rapid response networks. Crowdsourcing information about ICE will make you more effective at tracking their movements and will increase the likelihood that many people will quickly respond to attempted abductions. Be collaborative. But remember that dispatchers and other members of these chats are not there to make decisions for you. Be in touch with your own risk assessment and make the decisions you feel are strategic for you. What are tips for thinking strategically during a potential flashpoint? Assess the situation. How many opponents are present? This includes the overall number of cops, federal agents, and fascists. What kind of equipment do they have? Vehicles, weapons, tear gas, riot gear, etc. How many friends are present? This includes the overall number of people you think are willing to assist you with the task at hand. What sorts of equipment do you have? How many neutrals are present? This includes general witnesses, people there who seem to be unwilling to be involved, people from the media with cameras and microphones, passerbys who live in the area, and others. Where are your easiest exit points? 2, determine the goal. Is the goal to stop an abduction? Obstruct ICE, in other words. De-arrest someone, literally obstruct, or multiple individuals. Create a blockade to prevent cops from coming or going. Push back on the creation of a boundary or something else. Consider what it'll take to accomplish the chosen goal and whether the rest of your present AG is on board with said goal. Is it achievable based on who is present? Accept or reject the task at hand. In the moment, you might sometimes move first and ask questions later, but it's important to communicate with each member of your AG before you make a decision that impacts everyone. Whenever possible, try to determine your next steps collectively. No action without reflection. After the fast, discuss and review. Did you accomplish your goal? If so, which factors are working in your favor? If not, what could have helped? Additionally, what harm was done? Does anyone need medical attention, jail support, or any other type of aftercare? Flashpoints. What is a flashpoint? Flashpoints are specific times and places where a crisis quickly and dramatically escalates. When we say flashpoint, we mean any time, a place where masses of people are directly confronting armed force of the state. Remember, they're recommending flashpoints. Create potential flashpoints. There are several places across Twin Cities metros that already have or could in the future escalate into larger, more sustained confrontations. Another murder, a prolonged and escalating abduction attempt, fascist civilians escalating violently, or mass protests that spill out into an escalated confrontation with the state are all potential situations that could lead to flashpoints. These possibilities are dangerous, but they are also sites which we can escalate our resistance and inspire people into taking more militant, organized action. We will be prepared for these moments. We need to keep each other safe. We need to escalate when it's strategic. Where are the places we should prioritize? Hotels where ICE agents are staying. They're at the most vulnerable in these hotels, and a strong campaign could reduce their ability to stay functional. So far, most hotel actions have been noise demos. Potential next steps could include daily nightly pickets, occupying lobbies, blockading cars in or out. This has sparked at several junctures during our occupation wherein ICE has moved from hotels further out of the city after being disturbed by noise demos. Pressure campaigns have also forced some hotels to cancel ICE's reservations. The Whipple Federal Building, its current headquarters for ICE operations. Did I miss one? No. So we literally have chats, thousands of people on the chats that are distributing materials telling them how to escalate and create militant flashpoints against ICE, to go after them at their hotels where they're vulnerable. They seem to have coordination to the point where they have the ability, must be from someone involved in law enforcement, that they could run license plates. Can you name me one prominent Democrat that's talked about this? One? Instead, they're all pretending it doesn't happen, spreading misinformation. They kidnapped a 5-year-old. That's the type of shit they're saying. That's what members of government are saying. I remind you, they tried to keep Trump. A court in Colorado ruled that Trump must be taken off the ballot for, quote, engaging in an insurrection because they claimed he incited it because he said things like fight like hell. And yet, we have Democrat politician after Democrat politician calling ICE Nazis, saying that they're going to work with the community to stop ICE, while these violent attacks on ICE are occurring on a daily basis. Insurrections, in their definition, on a daily basis. They all know the game. Every lefty that you're talking to online, they all know it. They just won't tell you the truth. A small handful will. That's it. They want ICE obstructed. They want you to break the law. Wick said it. Yes, that's what they want. They want you to break the law because they don't like the law. They don't like it. So, go out, protest, be violent, obstruct ICE. These are the people that screamed about insurrections. They do not give a shit. They're actively cheering it on, or they're wink, wink, nudge, nudge, pretending they don't see it. Super chats. Wade Boggs, $100. Holy cow. And he'll want a whip song for that. That's fair. Thank you, Wade, man. Says Rob really needs a verbal combat character. Someday we'll make it a special thing. Josette, $20 says, for the griff, God bless the channel, Mr. Noor. Listening to you, Andrew, Jake, Jim Bob, and others has inspired me to do what I can to fight evil ideologies by trying to get into office. In Jesus' name, amen. That is amazing. That's awesome. Good luck to you. We'll be praying. Stand Up and Paddle Animal Rescue. Thanks so much. $10 says, assuming conviction would be a power boss move to pardon Lemon, they'd all lose their minds. Let them rot. Kurt, $2 says, they sound like orcs attacking Helm's Deep. Yeah. That they do. Gooberang, $10 says, oh. Oh, snap. Now, I mentioned the other day, yesterday I mentioned on the show, that one of the most white pill things that I'd seen was the reaction to the raid in Fulton County. And so this is peak. Democrat Dan Goldman introduced an amendment to prohibit the federal government from seizing election records or voting machines. Look, I'm still in the no one will be held accountable phase. But man, it's a good sign to see how the left's fucking freaking out. Elections being audited? No! We can't have that. It's almost like they know. Almost, right? It's like they all know that there was shady shit that went on. And they've just relied on the courts being like, no one has standing, no one's allowed to see anything. You know what they're doing. I'm not going to get into all the details tonight. But I'll just read you an overview from someone who I thought has been very good on this. If I could find it. I saved it. I wanted to bring your attention to this. because it might be something that you all would like to see. This is Kevin Moncla. He has been one of the best people on the Georgia Fulton County election business. And so they've put together this script document that's quite lengthy, as you can see, almost 260 pages. So someday we're going to go through that. But check that out if you like. And here's underneath that is just a short summary, because obviously. So here's a short summary of them discussing the facts.
I want to remind everyone what happened yesterday as it relates to the actual fact pattern of law. And a warrant was issued by a magistrate judge based on probable cause after evidence was submitted. Not a Trump-appointed judge, a magistrate judge. That is the way that the law enforcement process works in America. But we have heard repeatedly that everything was perfect with 2020. In fact, I think we probably at this point could trademark the most secure election in American history. What qualifications we use to measure that, I have no idea. But let's go back to what actually happened in 2020 if we're going to have the conversation. Drop boxes invented out of thin air, nowhere in Georgia law. Mobile voting units moving through Fulton County to 80% Democrat precincts, 81% Democrat precincts to be precise. Nowhere envisioned in Georgia law. 6.8 million absentee ballot request forms with a first-class stamp sent to every registered voter in the state of Georgia. Nowhere envisioned in Georgia law. If you count the same ballots 3 times, in theory, you should get numbers that match. But that didn't happen either. Let's talk about the recount that happened. 3,930 double scanned ballots in Fulton County alone. Thousands of those have been confirmed by the state election board. Governor Kemp actually raised the concerns of the Moncla-Rossi report, and we now know that there were double scanned ballots. But even after the ballots were double scanned in Fulton County, did the numbers match on the second recount? Nope. They were still off by 850 ballots. Not one person here can answer the question of how that happened. And that is a legitimate question. We know that ballot images were deleted. We know that test ballots were included in the recount process, and we have that confirmed. But I want to take just a minute and talk about what the Democrats did in response to legitimate questions over the 2020 election. A former constituent of mine, Derek Somerville, former FBI agent, ran data analysis along with another gentleman named Mark Davis. And remember the 6.8 million absentee ballot request forms that were sent out? They had a first-class stamp. So that means if you filed a national change of address form, that was automatically forwarded to your new address. And they identified reasonable cause to question the validity of 39,141 of those ballots that were cast. They knew that 160 people had been registered to vote from a single UPS store. 2,138 people had been registered to vote from one church in Fulton County. 1,391 had been registered to vote from a shuttered 1,000 square foot building in Fulton County. Unless you think Fulton County has cleaned up their voter rolls, today, thousands of people are registered to vote in Fulton County at UPS stores, storage units, pack mails, homeless shelters that haven't been open for over 5 years. The Fulton County voter rolls have been and continue to be a mess. But when Derek Somerville and Mark Davis followed the law and filed objections to those voters, what did the Democrats do? Well, Stacey Abrams sued him in federal court, and they won. Not Stacey Abrams, but Somerville and Davis won. Judge Jones, not a Republican judge, ruled in their favor. What have we learned since then about those 39,000 voters? 12,000 of them have been removed from the voter rolls because Somerville and Davis were correct that they were no longer eligible to vote. 9,500 have updated their address to a new address outside of Fulton County, proving once again that Somerville and Davis were correct and those people were ineligible to vote. Ultimately, 84% of the votes of the eligibility that Somerville and Davis challenged were proven to have been invalid voters in the 2020 election. So let's stop this charade of the most perfect, most secure election in history. But more importantly, and I would agree with my colleagues on this, let's look forward to the future elections, and it's darn near past time for Fulton County to clean up their voter rolls.
There's also a lot of other problems that people have raised. The Moncla report that he was talking about is the link that I had there is the official electoral committees, the election oversight group, report that they submitted to the Georgia State Election Board. Remember, the warrant that a judge signed off on alleges that there's criminality in breaking the law and not maintaining documents in the way that was supposed to be, and criminality and fraud involving an election. Trump lost Georgia by about 11,000 votes. And there's that many problems. And as always, the response is indicative of how you know they know it's bullshit. They didn't say, yeah, okay, I've talked about this a lot. The argument wasn't, look, Rob, because of the pandemic and other things, yes, they massively changed the way that people voted. So, of course, you're going to expect a higher level of fraud, a higher level of mistakes, but we don't see evidence that it rose to the level that it would have swung any states. We don't see that. We don't see that at all. But instead, they're like, it was the most secure ever, and how dare you question it? And we should censor people online that question it. How dare you? Most secure ever. Really? Ever? I remember talking about this. I'm the only person I heard talk about this. Immediately in the aftermath, the first election that took place after 2020 that was like of national relevance was for the mayor in New York City. And they fucked it up. They accidentally scanned a bunch of test ballots. But we're supposed to believe that the election that preceded it, when we completely overhauled and changed for the first time in state after state in this country how we vote, it was the most secure ever. Drop boxes just appearing. Ballot harvesting for the first time, but most secure ever. Let's see. I'm looking for a poll. Um, So Rasmussen and the Heartland Institute did a poll. We talked about this previously, but poll exposes widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. In December 2023, the Heartland Institute and Rasmussen released 2 polls in which voters who cast mail-in ballots admitted to widespread voter fraud and that President Trump and others who questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election should face harsh punishment. "17% of mail-in voters admit that in 2020 they voted in a state where they are no longer a permanent resident." Get that? That's fraud. 21% of mail-in voters admitted that they filled out a ballot for a friend or family member. That's fraud. 1 out of 5 people broke the law. If this poll's correct. 17% of mail-in voters said they signed a ballot for a friend or family member with or without his or her permission. 8% of likely voters said they were offered pay or a reward for voting. "43% of people cast their ballots by mail. "10% of all respondents claim they know a friend, family member, coworker, or other acquaintance who admitted that he or she cast a mail-in ballot in 2020 in a state other than the permanent residence." "36% Democrats, 33 Republicans, 31 other." Reading something here. Same video we've seen. Can I link the article on voting? Sure. The poll there? So, hopefully that's what you needed, yeah. So we'll see what comes out of Fulton County. Oh, our good man Avarice, thanks so much, man. $50 says, "Get the donos in chat. Might not be in the back tonight so I could debate, but I'm always watching." Thank you. What a Chad Avarice is. Also, a special shout out. An actress that I really like passed away today, Catherine O'Hare. A shame. She was great. She was in a bunch of like I forget why can't I Christopher Guest movies like Best in Show. She was in Beetlejuice. Worked a lot with John Candy back in the day. So she's a great actress. Made me laugh. I thought she was one of the best actresses. Home Alone, of course, the mom in Home Alone. Yeah, I named a bunch of. So, shame. Prayers out to her and her family. I don't know much about her as a person, or, but as far as an entertainer, I thought she did very well. I enjoyed her in the movie. So, Home Alone. Never heard of that. I don't see any more riots. Mm. Did I know she had dextrocardia with situs inversus? What are the chances the next 2 weeks they announce a nationwide test voting trial and send everyone a ballot? What would numbers say? Accurate population or no? I don't know. Until Wild's drunk. Okay. Well, folks, we're going to do verbal combat if we got to at least $400, but it don't look like we're going to get there tonight. And that's okay, to be honest. It's all right. We're allowed to have off nights. No big deal. And to be honest, Perry's also decently drunk, but not. I do owe Whip Song. That's true. I got to be honest. I'm not really feeling it tonight. And I know why. You want to hear something sad and pathetic? Max Reddick says, StreamYard. Yeah. I miss my wife. I miss my son, if I'm honest with you. Even though they're almost always sleeping when I'm here. Streaming for y'all. I don't know. There's always something nice about. I go downstairs, I shower, I brush my teeth, and I check in on my son sleeping. That's my normal routine when I'm done here. And I won't get to do that tonight. And I got the sads over it a little. I'll be all right. I really, really love him. He's a great guy. He makes me laugh. He's amazing. What was he going on about today? He got these foam nunchucks that my friend got him for his birthday, and he's been like beating the shit out of people with them. My son's at his grandma's today, spending the night at grandma's. My wife's with a friend. She was going to near Pittsburgh to hang out with friends who's pregnant, and so she was taking her some baby stuff. So, whip wheel business, $100. Spin the whip wheel. Our good friend Wade Boggs decides he would like a spin. All right. Oh boy, it's a good one. Enjoy. Ugh. I'm going to listen to this abomination while I make sure that there's no new riot footage.
There's a
Max Reddick. Oh, we did that stream. Oh, fucking hell. Thank you so much, Wade Boggs. What's that, chat? You want to hear another Whip Wheel song? I'm sure that's what they want. Oh, the Crucible's raiding over? Oh, shit. We'll have to wait on the Whip Wheel song. Hi, Crucible. How are you? How's Andrew this fine evening? I hope well. My family's out of town and I miss them. Joseph Newton, member for 9 months, says, raid! Oh, I guess I better up the intensity then. Huh? I'll pull something out of my ass here. Oh, I know. Here. I'm sure Andrew showed this on his stream, but this is good stuff. What's the name of this lady? From the Unfuck America thing. Did you guys see this? So there's this lady, I can't think of her name, but she was working with Unfuck America and she was trying to start shit with Andrew on X, right? Where basically Andrew and Myron were possibly going to debate Destiny and Adam Mockler, and they couldn't come to an agreement because basically the Unfuck America people just wanted a circus that wasn't a serious debate. So Andrew was like, no thanks. And then they, of course, got pissed because they knew they didn't have an event without Andrew there, right? So then she kind of went at Andrew. Anyways, I don't know her name or any of that shit. But I do know that this is one of the funniest things I've seen in quite some time. Andrew puts this out. So here's whatever that lady's name is. That's quite a good rendition of her. Z Cohen Sanchez. Hey, thanks, Rachel. Old Z here. Let's see how Z, an artist rendition of how Z handled this situation.
Know that you're there doing this, you know? Oh, God. This is know that you're there.
One more time.
You know? Oh, God. This is
Now, I was old enough to remember when 2025 was going to be the end of Andrew Wilson, the worst year ever, says some fucking number prognosticator, right? And I remember when the Panelverse said, Andrew needed the Panelverse. Sarah and them were going to be the next fucking Piers Morgan and Joe Rogan. He was clinging on to more talented people. How'd that work? How'd that work out? Yeah, Mr. White crushing those animations. Andrew sent me that on Discord yesterday. I didn't know. I wasn't going to put it public unless he did. Oh, shit. I got a new spider friend? Oh, I see you down there. He's hiding under my table. No. I'm not going over to verbal combat now. That ship has sailed. People had their chance. So, it's just funny. Now, listen. My thoughts on all of this is as follows. Like, look. Some people will do really well. Some people won't. Whatever. But I don't know who's watching. If you've ever paid attention to like one of Andrew's streams and his community and the metrics, who the fuck would be predicting like, oh, you're about to fall off? Why? There's like incredible enthusiasm. It's the numbers, by the way. One of the things I think's unique about the Crucible, and it's also true of my show, except on a far smaller scale, is the amount of audience engagement, super chats, people just chatting, memberships. And so why would you look and be like, oh, okay, this guy's got like, on a regular night, 5,000 people watching his show, one of the most super chatted channels in the country. I'm going to predict he's falling off. Okay. I wish I'd have taken some poly market bets on that. So, but I'm sure. What's the new theory? Here, let's put our lefty hat on. Oh, look. Here, check it out. There he is. Uh-huh. Okay, bud. I'll set you down. I don't know what he is. Anybody know what type of spider that is? I would call that just house spider. He's like super about my mouse pad now. I would love to be Spider Rob. I think I'd be that is not a brown recluse. Go fuck yourself. We used to get those all the time. The house I worked at, where I did the adults with disabilities, when it would be start to get cold out and the furnace would kick on for the first time, we'd get fucking dozens of those little like pale spiders that would come out. Do I not have one like arachnophile in the audience? A poison whitey? All whiteys are poisonous, right? Garden spider. Yeah, there we go. Bang Bang Lulu. A reclusive brown man. Let's read some super chats real quick. Nard, Emu King says, sup, Ron. Ron Norman here for you tonight. Yeah. Andrew Burnt, 7 months. Says, how we doing tonight, chat? We doing good. Piano Dean, $5. Says, Andrew yelled at us and called us stupid. We probably deserved it. I mean, yeah. Dan Snyder, $5. It's a robbery. You sound just like Judge Judy and Alex Jones had a love child and named him robnoerr. No shade. I sound like drunk folklore tonight. I'm a huge fan of Judge Judy and Alex Jones, so no shade taken. And then another 5 says, Andrew's laughing. The cartoon sounds like Vincent Price in Thriller. It does. Robbie Heck Music, thanks for the 10. Dan Snyder again, $5 says, Gary bet the farm, nothing to lose. If he's right, then he's a celebrity. If he's wrong, when you're on bottom, there's nowhere to go up. There you go. And Piano Dean, $5 says, if spiders were the size of cats, would they be less or more scary? They wouldn't get in your house as easy, but once there, oh boy. Yeah, they'd be more scary. I don't think that's debatable. Arachnophile, I said. Arachnophile. All right, let's give you some real content instead of just fucking stretching out. So I was about to end. We were talking about the Don Lemon thing. Look, all the people clutching their pearls today about what happened with Don Lemon, allow me to add myself. I, too, have a serious problem. Can you believe it? They arrested Don Lemon for coordinating with people to break into a church and violate their civil rights. Harassing children. One woman, what'd she do? She broke her arm trying to flee. Indictment said that they thought that there was a shooting that was about to start. And I, too, have a problem with this. I will raise my voice. I have a problem. How many people in the audience support the arrest that happened today? How many are happy with it? If you're happy with the arrest today, say yes. I figure I might as well fuck with my audience a little, right? Look at this. Yes, 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 yes. Good. We'll have some disagreement then. Everybody, universal. Hell yeah. Wow. I'm going to disagree with everyone? Yeah, you're all wrong. I'll join the chorus of the people that are pissed off about this. I'm pissed off that they didn't raid him and drag him out at 4 a.m. while cameras from Fox News or Breitbart or Newsmax or fuck the Crucible cameras were there. Drag him out in his fucking underwear with 14 agents in front of his fucking kids, then throw him in solitary confinement, say he's a flight risk, and keep his fucking ass there until the trial. So yes, I too am upset. I'll join the likes of Jake Tapper and Harvey Levine in saying, this was bad. Agreed. Fuck this piece of shit. They created the standard. They didn't give a fuck when Owen Schroyer got arrested. They didn't give a fuck when Steve Baker got arrested. They didn't give a fuck when Nick Sorter got arrested in Portland here about a month ago for the crime of getting the shit beat out of him while he also was covering ICE riots. Show me one journalist that spoke up and said, no, wait a minute. This was just a man covering. They said, I must have did something wrong. Owen Schroyer didn't even go into the Capitol on January 6th. They threw his ass in jail. Steve Baker, the reason he went to jail, if you look, it's sort of the court documents, it says he said things both before and after January 6th, like that led them to believe that he supported the people that were in the Capitol. Not that he did anything violent. In fact, he was interviewing law enforcement officers. Okay, how's that any different with Don Lemon? Now, Don Lemon's out today without bail. The judge let him out without bail. Right? I say bullshit. That's another reason I'm mad. I think Don Lemon's a fucking flight risk. How about that? That's what I think. Oh, what's that, Democrats? You don't like that? You think that's ridiculous? Let's roll back the clock to 2 weeks ago and the testimony of Special Counsel Jack Smith, front of the House committee.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with one.
It was 16 days after becoming the highest-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the speech or debate clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll
You were collecting months' worth of phone data on the Republican Speaker of the House, the leader of the opposition, right after he got sworn in as Speaker, all around the time of a major vote. That sounds like a flagrant violation of the speech or debate clause to me, and I think most people agree with me. And Speaker McCarthy had no recourse, did he? Because you issued a non-disclosure order ensuring that neither
I assure you, I'm playing this for a reason. Get ready. You ready for this?
he nor any of the American people knew about these subpoenas. Is that right?
The toll record, the non-content toll record subpoenas, we did secure non-disclosure orders for those subpoenas.
You did, and let me ask you, Mr. Smith, at the time you secured those non-disclosure orders, was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
The non-disclosure order was based on concerns about
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be
You
associated.
think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
The question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the investigation.
I think that you were using...
Yeah, I agree. The risk with Don Lemon, yeah, he could be a flight risk, you know? It could be a risk to the investigation, right? Fuck these people. Fuck them. I'm not going to listen to the pearl clutching. They arrested the president of the United States, the former president, who they knew would be their chief opponent, on bullshit charges. Over and over, they kept throwing more and more charges. They arrested his attorneys. They arrested podcasters. They arrested conservative journalists. They arrested conservatives that made memes like Douglas Mackey. Not one fucking prominent Democrat stood up and said, "What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?" Not one. They arrested pro-life protesters from just praying and singing hymns. That was considered a violation of the FACE Act and violating people's civil rights. Remember when they raided James O'Keefe's house over Ashley Biden's diary? Remember that? I remember. And yeah, if you scroll social media today, you'll see dozens upon dozens of people in our media and Democrat politicians with this exact take.
So the Trump administration wonders why people are saying that they are trying to form a dictatorship. Well, look at the landscape. Arresting Don Lemon, who covered a protest in Minneapolis, is just insane, ridiculous, dictator-like. This is the playbook that dictators use to destroy democracies and take the will of the people away. It is as simple as that.
You see? You can't arrest Don Lemon because he claims to be a journalist. By the way, who's Don Lemon work for now? Who's he work for? You know who he was working for when he entered that church? His own Twitch channel. Twitch! That's where he was streaming, to fucking Twitch. Well, fuck all. If that's the fucking criteria, then call me Walter motherfucking Cronkite. I suppose I can do whatever the fuck I want. I too have a Twitch channel. I'm a journalist. And if I get arrested, oh boy. What a fucking joke. These performative fucking assholes. It's all so fucking fake. Oh my God, our country, the democracy. Douglas Mackey gets arrested for a meme. Where were these motherfuckers? Stephen Baker gets arrested January 6th. Works for The Blaze. Where were these motherfuckers? Owen Schroyer didn't even enter the Capitol. Gets arrested on January 6th. Works for InfoWars. Where were these motherfuckers? You want to know what the truth is? They'll say two things. Those aren't real journalists, and it was an insurrection. Now notice here, go back and listen to how Harvey Levine, let's assume for a second, say, well, maybe Levine was in a coma during all of that. Maybe he didn't see Barack Obama wiretap James Rosen, who worked for Fox News, and his father. Maybe they didn't see the raid of James O'Keefe. Maybe they didn't see the prosecution of Steve Baker or Owen Schroyer. Maybe he just missed it. He had other things going on. Maybe he was in a hot relationship, wasn't paying attention to the news, right? Maybe that's what happened. And now he's just like, look, we have to be mighty careful when arresting journalists. Okay, would you explain the situation like this then?
So the Trump administration wonders why people are saying that they are trying to form a dictatorship. Well, look at the landscape. Arresting Don Lemon, who covered a protest in Minneapolis.
Is that what he was doing? He was covering a protest. Well, I guess then Harvey Levine also thinks that the rest of the people that got charged under violating civil rights in the FACE Act were just protesters. Now, I assume, based on what he said there, that these were just protesters, that he supports what happened there. And that's the truth. It's really not more difficult than that. The reason that Jake Tapper and Harvey Levine and David Axelrod and all these media people are out there clutching their pearls today, the reason is because they liked what happened in that church. They liked those kids that were crying. They liked those evil white people that were intimidated at that church. They want that. That's the fucking truth. And they'll say, because they know that they're supposed to say for public consumption, oh, maybe it wasn't the best idea. But they like it. That's the truth. That's why they gaslight you and say, it was just a protest. He was just covering a protest. That's what's going on. By the way, let's not forget Harvey Levine and TMZ there. Listen to the background here as they cheer when they find out that Charlie Kirk succumbed to his wounds.
We're going to see an image of this guy possibly in the next 20 minutes. The news conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific.
Hear him in the background cheering. Then he had to bullshit and say, oh, no. They were cheering. They were watching a police chase in the back room, and they were watching that. Of course, someone went through painstakingly and time-stamped it, and nothing happened at that police chase that would have resulted in any sort of reaction at that point. But they had to come out and gaslight you and say, oh. Every fucking celebrity. Bruce Springsteen's out there. I'm going to lose my voice again. Did anybody see you should have tuned into my show last night. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I have decided that I'm going to have another career. I'm officially a fucking anti-war protest vocalist now. I'm going to get demonetized again for playing it. Thanks, Bruce. Real spirit of fucking America. But I don't give a fuck. All these people, it's all performative bullshit. Every single one of every celebrity you see, it's too much now. That fucking piece of shit from Breaking Bad, the guy that ran the chicken store in Breaking Bad, what's his name, Esposito or whatever the fuck it is. He's like, we need a revolution and some of us will die. Fuck you. You go first then, motherfucker. I'm tired of these assholes fucking telling other people to go put your body on the line, fuckface. We can't even live in this country now. Here's Bruce. Look at this guy, man. Fucking pathetic. Listen to this.
Through the winter's ice and cold, down Nicollet Avenue, a city of flame fought fire and ice neath an occupier's boots. King Trump's private army from the DHS, guns belted to their coats, came to Minneapolis to enforce the law, or so their story goes.
Oh, man, that's powerful. Whoa. Wow. Woo. That's some powerful shit. That's wow. Holy man. It brings me back to Vietnam, man, in the protest. I mean, that's fucking Woodstock all over it, right? Amazing. Of course, I figure I'd put my hat in the ring. I almost lost my voice doing this. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in last night, yes, I have yet another single, an anti-war, anti-Nazi single. You ready? Make sure this is okay. You ready? I gotta wait. Someone told me to turn it down, so I gotta. How do I do that? All right, you ready? Here we go. I'm inspired by The Boss, by Bruce Springsteen. Here we go. We went down to Minneapolis, and that's where ice was, and we were getting a beverage. And Trump and Tom Homan and Baldino, they're bad, they're like Nazis, and they're murdering people. We miss Renee Good, and that Houck's pretty guy, and they were the best of us, and they're the greatest people that ever lived. And the blood and guts was spraying everywhere as we fought the evil Nazis that call themselves ICE. Now we're all standing up and everybody putting their body on the line, and we're all cool and we're doing the best thing that you could ever do. That Austrian painter, he's coming back, and Trump and DHS and other places to really kidnap people. Yes, they are. This little instrumental break my band put together. And then it was the winter at 26, and we decided we needed to do something to feel important. And then we said we'd go to Minneapolis because they were important people, and we like small your daycares. And Trump and Tom Homan and Baldino, and they're trying to prevent what they call fraud, but it's really just bananas and rice. We're gonna step up, and it's like once more we're fighting the fascists all over again, just like we always did, because we're great. And the blood was spraying in the streets, and we all saw it with our own eyes in Minneapolis. You can send my Grammy in the mail. Renee Good, everyone. Alex Pretty, Donald Trump, Orange Man, bad. There you go. Hey, I did it. Bruce, what do you think? You be the judge. Who did it better?
Against smoke and rubber bullets in the dawn's early light, citizens stood for justice. Their voices ringing through the night.
You gotta have the scowl.
And there were bloody footprints where mercy should have stood. And 2 dead left to die on snow-filled streets. Alex Pretty and Renee Good.
Wow, you nailed it, boss. Damn. Crushed it. These motherfuckers, the fakest bullshit. Bruce shit his pants when he sang, so I take it. Well, I haven't checked my pants yet, so. The double standards, like, I understand. I had a bunch of people. By the way, one of the games you hear from these people, they'll come into your chat and they'll be like, I don't know why you're talking about double standards. It's truly as simple as these fucking lefties feel that they're morally justified, and so anything is justified against you. I talk about this a lot. This video is an important video to me. Now, I've heard that this comedian guy, his name's Vito. I don't know much about him, but I heard he may be a bad guy. I don't know, or care. He went to a Netflix protest. People were protesting outside Netflix headquarters because they allowed a Dave Chappelle special. And he made a joke at the trans community. And what, on the little minute and a half that comes forth here, I think says all you need to know about these people we're up against, these leftists.
Why is he breaking my sign? Why is he breaking my sign? Don't have free speech rights? Don't have free speech rights as all of you? Oh, look, there's such a... He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon!
Why did they do it? Because you're awful. Because you're an asshole. Because we're good and you're bad. Right, Spider? I like this Spider chilling out. He's appreciating the vibes here. See what they do? They break his property, then imply it's a weapon, then cheer for the very law enforcement that they would protest against to remove him. It's really quite simple. It is now the predominant philosophy amongst those that hate Donald Trump. Democrat voters, lefties, communists, anti-Trump righties, not all of them, but it has become the predominant philosophy that Trump and his supporters are such a threat that you may use any and all tactics up to a sort of continuum of force. Now, I'm no fucking use of force expert, but there's like metrics that law enforcement and other places use that sort of are policies of when you're allowed to escalate the use of force. And that's how the left feels. So, for example, if you're a nobody, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I just mean if you're not an online presence, you're not a media member, you're not a politician, and you're a Trump supporter, they'll be like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. They'll ridicule, they'll laugh at you, they'll ignore you, whatever. If you're a small-time streamer, maybe they'll blacklist you from panels and shit. If you get a little bigger, maybe they'll dox you. Maybe they'll swat you. Maybe they'll punch you or hit you. And then if you get big enough and you're deemed big enough of a threat because you're actually making moves institutionally, they'll kill you, like Charlie Kirk. Now, they don't want to kill you. The average lefty would be like, we don't want to kill Rob. We just want him silenced. But if I would run for Senate and I would start pushing laws and having momentum, if I won, to deport people, then it would be okay. They do not give a shit because they feel that they are morally superior. The standards do not apply to them. They'll feign ignorance, they'll lie. Let me give you an example. There's this left-wing lawyer I debate from time to time called Pisco. Pisco believes that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection because he defines insurrection as this: an assemblage of people that are united for a common purpose that's resisting the implementation or execution of a particular law or interfering with the course of government proceedings by way of force or intimidation for a public purpose. Now, this would make pretty much every anti-ICE protest that results in clashes with police an insurrection. Now, he claims that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection because if you look at the Colorado court that tried to keep Trump off the ballot, using Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, basically Section 3 says the following. It's like, if you are an office holder in the United States or had been an office holder and you engage in an insurrection, you are no longer allowed to run for office. This came about as the result of the Civil War. We didn't want Jefferson Davis running for Senate after the Civil War. You get the picture. But Colorado tried to use this to keep Donald Trump off the ballot because they said he engaged in an insurrection. Okay, how did he engage? Was he there punching police officers? No. Did he tell people to punch police officers? No. Well, what he did was, according to the Colorado court, he made statements. He talked about the election being stolen. Okay. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. He said things like, fight like hell. Some of the evidence they suggested, I shit you not. They had a quote that Trump put out on his social media that was like, Mitch McConnell's not a fighter. We need fighters like Jim Jordan. See, he said the word fight. Really? You really think that he was saying that? And that was evidence used in the Colorado court that he engaged in an insurrection because it said the word fight. So you think he was literally saying, I want Mitch McConnell to punch people like Jim Jordan? One of the things they said was he retweeted a post that said, Mr. President, the cavalry is coming. That's proof he engaged in an insurrection. Now, I had argued, I'd set this argument up with Destiny and people like him for years. Your definition of insurrection is too broad. The left engages in insurrections all the time based on your definition then. And when that happens, when the left does this again, just like they do every time Republicans are in office, you're going to make excuses. All of a sudden, it won't be a big deal to remove people for Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It won't be a big deal that you're on stream every day for 4 years going, oh my God, insurrectionist. All of a sudden, it'll be different. And that's exactly what's happened. But if we're talking about people engaging in an insurrection, if Trump engaged in an insurrection because he was talking about the need to fight, etc., then what's this? Here's the governor of New Jersey.
I've already met with the AG. We are putting out information on helping New Jerseyans know their rights. We are not going to allow any ICE raids to be staged from state properties. And we are also going to be standing up a portal so people can upload all their cell phone videos and alert people. Like if you see an ICE agent in the street, get your phone out. Yes. We want to know. Because they have not been forthcoming. They will pick people up. They will not tell us who they are. Right. They will not tell us if they're here legally. They won't check. They'll pick up American citizens. They picked up a 5-year-old child. We want documentation, and we are going to make sure we get it.
Now that seems to be clear cut. We have actual signal chats. Where it's coordinated, that people are coordinating the obstruction on a daily basis all across the country. I don't hear one Democrat saying, oh my gosh, that's people engaging in insurrection. Lock them all up. I don't hear any of them.
This is Gestapo-like behavior. Plainclothes officers wearing masks are terrorizing immigrants.
The ICE issue is alarming beyond words. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process. We're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here. Wake up.
Dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany, especially in the earliest days of Nazi Germany, are the dangers that we need to react to now. They're taking people off the streets and sending them away. It's a 5-alarm fire, everyone.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is not the 1930s, and every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared. We need to make sure that there's a firewall that they have to come through before they get to them.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Remember when a lefty went in the roof of a building and shot at an ICE facility and killed 2 detainees? Remember that? Now, if Trump's rhetoric saying we need to fight, by the way, there's way better clips. I have them saved somewhere. Way better clips of just lefties over and over and over and over again saying the need to fight ICE. Here's some more. AOC, we need to fight back against ICE's violent, secretive tactics. Bernie Sanders, we must resist and stop ICE from what they are doing. Norma Torres, ICE, get the fuck out of LA so order could be restored. Jasmine Crockett, we need to fight back against ICE's abuses. Kwesi Mufumi, we must fight back and stop ICE from what they're doing as soon as possible. Greg Cassier, we have to stand up and fight back against the raids. Delea Ramirez, communities must resist and protect each other from ICE. Elizabeth Warren, we cannot allow ICE to continue the abuses. We must push back hard. Pramila Jayapal, it's time we fight back against the cruelty of ICE enforcement. Ilan Omar, we must resist ICE overreach and defend our communities. Cori Bush, we have to fight back and stop ICE from terrorizing our people. Ayanna Pressley, resistance is necessary when ICE comes from our neighbors. Ed Markey, we must stand up and fight back against ICE's reckless actions. Jamie Raskin, we cannot sit idly by. We must push back against ICE abuses. Ro Khanna, it's time for communities to resist and hold ICE accountable. Rashida Tlaib will fight back against ICE's inhumane policies. Jesus Choi Garcia, we have to resist and protect our immigrant communities from ICE. Adriano Espialiat, we must stand together and fight back against ICE raids. Cory Booker, we must resist and stop ICE from destroying family. Garcia, communities are ready to fight back against ICE's cruelty. Now, if saying fight meant that Trump was engaged in an insurrection on January 6th, which lasted about 3 hours, what do you talk about the hundreds of insurrections we've seen in Trump's second term here, and Democrats continually, day after day after day, saying we need to keep fighting ICE? Now, I would say, if it was my standard, all things, if they didn't go after Trump for this shit, I'd say, yeah, fuck these people. They're dangerous. The rhetoric's bad. But oh no, Democrats went further with Trump. He said fight. That means he engaged in insurrection. That means he should be removed from the ballot. And in fact, the only reason he wasn't removed from the ballot was basically procedural issues, because the Supreme Court said, well, it doesn't really qualify that a state could do that to a president. But they still say that Trump engaged in an insurrection for saying fight. Why shouldn't every one of them be kicked off a ballot? Hell, this fucking low-level stringer the other day came on my show and I talked to him. He said he was telling his audience to obstruct ICE, to lie to them, and to get arrested. Is that engaging in an insurrection? No, they say that's different. Telling people to break the law to obstruct ICE as there's ongoing insurrections on a daily basis. No, that's different. That'd be dangerous to make those sorts of accusations. Motherfucker, I couldn't even talk about the 2020 election on social media for fucking 2.5 years because it got you censored, because it was considered dangerous. Yet these motherfuckers could go on YouTube and tell people to break the law? Fuck you. And I don't want them banned off YouTube. That's not my argument. But the double standard's fucking appalling. Tired of winning? Why you sound like a loser then? I'm sorry, I was yelling a little. Your mom's downstairs. And trust me, I made her a loser. She's having trouble hearing, so it's just a little loud. The double standard is fucking ridiculous. They didn't think that anyone would ever hold them to the same standard that they're trying. I don't give a shit what any of these lefties think. I don't care. Do not care. Fuck them all. I'm not saying go out and... I won't even suggest that fucking we do what they're doing. I'm not suggesting anyone break the law. Never have. I'm not suggesting to obstruct law enforcement. I'm not suggesting to go out and use violence. In fact, I condemned when right-wingers did it. Not for those fucking lefties, though, because that's what I feel. Fuck them. I owe them nothing. I owe them nothing. Any criticism that I have of a Republican or of Trump or of tactics, it is not for the left. They could go fuck themselves. I have zero respect. What do you think the result would be if right-wingers, for example, decided, you know what, we don't like that federal law enforcement is on the streets. Insert whatever. We don't like that they're arresting abortion people, or pro-life people. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to take over city streets in Republican cities across the country. And we're going to attack federal law enforcement that's trying to carry out arrest of pro-life people. And let's say that happened dozens upon dozens of times. And all the while, Republican politicians are out there like, yes, go after these feds. What do you think the reaction would have been? The Marines would have been fucking on the streets day one. The media would be saying, oh my God, it's a new civil war. The South has risen again now. It's all so tiresome. So enjoy days like today. Should have been bigger, right? But good. Fuck Don Lemon. Now he's going to go out and try to make himself a martyr. And understand, all the fucking celebrities, all the media, all the Democratic politicians, all the left-wingers on social media, they like what Don Lemon and company did. That's why they're going to be defending him. They're happy. And they're going to be happy to make him a martyr. Just like they were Jimmy Kimmel after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And there's a pretty good chance if this trial's held in Minneapolis, all it'll takes one juror to nullify it. And we're probably nowhere close to inflicting the pain upon them through these institutions in a lawful way that they've tried to inflict upon us. But that doesn't mean that we can't cheer when we get these small victories. So take a moment and cheer. Fuck Don Lemon. I wonder if he'll be grabbing dudes' dicks in prison like he allegedly did to some guy that there was a civil suit from. It's one of the most talentless, moronic, race-baiting pieces of shit that's ever graced the internet or television. On that note, though, we'll try to read some more super chats. And William Burns says, let him go so we can rest him again. Thank you for the $2. Ken Dog, $10 says, hey, what's up, man? Take on Iran? Looks like the people who are taking back their country, rightfully so. The regime to me is horrific. Also, don't get people saying it's Mossad as if they made millions of actors. I'm sure, look, the color revolution shit, like, people have an oversimplified view of this. I would argue that almost every time the United States or a Western country has engaged in a color revolution in a country across the world, that the vast majority of the people revolting legitimately hated their government. So the idea, it's like, well, I look and all these people on the street probably are really Iranian and they probably really hate their government. You're probably right. Yeah, their government's fucking horrible. Fuck them. But the idea that this means that there wasn't foreign money going in there, I don't buy that. In other words, Mossad wouldn't have to make millions of actors. They'd just have to provide the tools necessary to help those millions of Iranians rise up. Let them fucking revolt. Let them take over. That's good. Great. I just have different shit to worry about here back home. I'm more concerned about the fucking left-wing insurrectionist on a daily basis. And if we don't crack down on them, they're going to do this every time they don't get their way for the rest of my life. AJC, $5 says, put Lemon in with P. Diddy and Maduro and have an oil party. Dan Snyder, $5 says, as soon as the church security would have ventilated some of them, it'd be a race or a homo thing. They invaded a church during service. Yeah. AJC, 20 memberships. Thank you so much, man. Incredibly generous. And Kokomo says, you loser. The Quality Leering Center must have more locations around the country. Yes, billions of dollars. All right. Well, no. What do you mean you disagree? I'm not saying there hasn't been organic grassroots dissent. Of course. I'm saying to say, well, if these millions of people on the street, they're either, if foreigners had to be with them, then if Mossad did it, then that means these are all actors? No. That doesn't mean that. Yeah, I've watched the riots live, of course. Everybody leering. The Quality Leering Center, right? We all leer. Man, this spider's getting bold. He's just like swinging down on me now. Come on, man. I think I'm being pretty generous here. Look at this guy. He's out of control. Look at him. don't know if you can see him. He's coming around the front. Oh, now he's going to the bottom. You make me look like a fool, Spider. There he is. See him? He's just all over the place, man. Leave me alone, Spider. He's built a web from here to here. We're time to deport this motherfucker. Throw this spider outside, all of a sudden I'll have fucking weirdos protesting outside my house. Now listen, I'm not a wealthy man. I'm doing okay, actually. I'm not asking for a lot. $1,000 was the goal. If we don't get there, no problem. But we could at least get to like 600 or something, right? We could do that. I would think. We're going to raid over to Verbal Combat, Speakeasy's debate panel. Now, on my show, much to my chagrin, I know people have like the music that they play, like Andrew will play music and stuff that everybody likes. On my channel, it's a little different. My audience decides to request songs that I fucking hate that we made. Is that the same guy? No, he's over here. Must have gotten the energy drink. So, this song from this old Lord of the Rings cartoon movie, where there's a whip, there's a way. We have different versions of it. Wade Boggs it's $100 to spin the wheel and play a song. So before we leave, I owe one. And it's going to be K-pop. I don't know if I have this one. I think I have to take it off. Oh, there it is. Enjoy. I apologize, everyone, for how shitty this is.
When there's a way, there's a way. 채찍 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 채찍 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 채찍 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 우리는 오늘 전쟁에 나가고 싶지 않지만 채찍질의 구주는 아니 우리는 하루 종일 We're gonna march all day. all day. 하루 종일 행진할 거야 채찍. 채찍이 있는 곳에 길이 있습니다. 채찍이 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 채찍이 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 채찍이 있는 곳에는 방법이 있습니다. 왼쪽 오른쪽 왼쪽 오른쪽 왼쪽. 채찍이 나는 곳에는 방법이 있으면 우리가 싸울 거라고 하더군요. 우리는 밤낮으로 행진할 것입니다. 우리는 어둠의 군주 전쟁의 노이기 때문입니다. For we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war.
Yeah, I know. Why is this music playing now? Because I'm trying to intentionally drive people away. No, because I'm wrapping up the stream and people donated money, and that's the game. Apologies. I know it sucks. I don't like it. Inbred, not inbred. In bed, not inbred. $2. A spider is a bagel overlord spy. Fucking bagels. Mr. Ubercross, $50 says, I remember back in the day when 357 was all Rob needed for his transition. So I put on my wallet and I quit. Well, you know, Godspeed. For most of my life, only me and my one weird friend knew about where there's a whip. Odd times. Yeah. Rankin Bass cartoon from The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Mike, Final Fantasy 14? Play We Are the Future by H.O.T. No. But thanks for the suggestion. From the UK. Thank you, man. Take it off the wheel. I can't help it. I hate fucking 95% of the songs on the wheel. So if it's up to me, the wheel would be out. All right. $6 away from 500. Someone could donate $6 before we head out here, right? that's doable. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. Not positive. The original one keeps getting me in trouble, by the way. They started to flag it. Sunday night, I'll be back at 10 p.m. I'll try to stream tomorrow, but I'm single dadding it. My wife's out of town for the day. So I'll be with my son, and I'm not going to miss some quality time with my son. It's always a Bruce Springsteen wheel. Well, it's been the wheel for Minneapolis and the blood and guts that was there. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Kokomo gets us there. Thanks so much for the $10. Yeah, we'll just do a wheel of songs of me doing Bruce Springsteen. Super Ross, $5. Here's 5. Thanks for everything, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I see you over there, Spider. Simmer down. All right. We're going to raid over to Speakeasy. He's got a debate panel. Any more donations that come in, thank you so much. I'll read them if they come in, but we're going to wrap up here this evening. I'd like to thank my editor, Black Elk, all of my moderators, everyone who super chatted, everyone who chatted today. Thank you all so much. Give Speakeasy a follow when you get over there. He's a good dude. Hosts a lot of debates, so even if you don't stick around long, give him a follow. Be cool. Sometimes I debate over there too. In fact, every Thursday I do every other Thursday I do a debate on Speakeasy channel. I did one last night. No prep debates where Speakeasy finds me an opponent. I don't know who that opponent is. I don't know what the topic is. They get to prepare for the debate. I do not. And then we do a debate. So make sure you're following them. You'll be able to see that. Give me a follow. I'd appreciate as well. Take a moment out, and when you see these violent lefties, don't forget how they laughed and mocked Charlie Kirk and his family after he was assassinated. And remember, that's what they want for you. The only reason that they aren't actively cheering that for you, it's not because, and I can't stress this enough, it wasn't that Charlie Kirk was more radical than most of us. It was he was more effective. So don't forget, that's what we're up against. So say a prayer for Charlie and his family here tonight. All the ICE officers out there. Hope you're all doing great. Staying safe. Weather getting a little better, I hope, for most people. I'll probably see you all tomorrow, though not guaranteed. If not, I'll see you Sunday night at 10. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you all. As always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.